What's good, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I am dropping you my custom controls and camera settings. These settings, I'm sort of going to give you my pro settings, and hopefully that these are going to help you guys receive a few more wins in whatever you're playing, career mode, ultimate team, whatever you play. Hopefully these guys settings can help you out and get some more wins. But if you are new around here, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment on some more content you want to see. But let's get into the settings and show you what I'm currently using. So I think we'll start off with the game settings. So this will be like the camera settings and just any other in-game stuff you can sort of add. I'm currently using telebroadcast. I would say though, before we get into this, camera settings is all preference. It doesn't really matter if you're a co-op player, default player. Telebroadcast is whatever you feel most comfortable with. And that's the main thing. But I think the most basic one and the thing what a lot of people get used to easy is telebroadcast and co-op. So if you wanted something a little bit more zoomed out, have a little look at co-op. But if you want something maybe more a little bit more closer to the screen, telebroadcast is the way to go forward. And I am using also camera settings on custom. It was meant to be actually on 15 height and 5 zoom, but I obviously haven't changed this account because I've been playing the Road to Glory on the trial access. But yes, camera settings custom, height 15, zoom 5. That is what I'm currently using. Don't worry about the pro camera zoom and so on, but that is what I'm currently using and seeing quite, I would say, success with, because this game's a bit weird, but yeah, that's what I'm feeling most comfortable with right now. Visuals as well on HUD or HUD or however you would say this. It usually starts on player name bar. So this is when you go into the game, it's just going to come up with your gamer tag if that's how you want it. Personally, I want the player name and indicator. So this will come up with the actual player who the ball's on, which is quite useful to have, especially when you're playing against somebody who's got players you're not too used to, or you are used to even, and like they're right-footed or they're very right-footed, for example. So then, they're going to come onto the right to take the shot. So just a little information, what you're giving yourself in the game is going to help you react quicker to what the opponent's probably going to do, because you understand the player who's on the ball and so on. There is a few other things you can change, such as the radar, which is like 3D and 2D and stuff like that. I think mine's on 3D, but I can't remember which one's actually better, 3D or 2D. But once again, everything's just preference and so on and so on. But nothing too crazy really to change in the game setting sort of area now, and it's back onto the customized control settings. This year is slightly different, mainly because we've got a thing called competitive master switch, which is basically when you play on competitive mode, which I believe is rivals and foot champs. I'm not sure if there's any other game modes. Let me know in the comments if there actually is. But when you are playing them game modes, this is on. So these certain settings are all preset, and you have no other choice, and that's what you got to play with. But I will go over these and just sort of explain what each one does, so you're just sort of aware what the game has off and what you're going to have to adjust to. But also, I can also mention which ones are probably better if you're just playing career mode or so on. But as I said, if you're playing rivals or foot champs, that's going to be on. So it's probably worth you pre-practicing having this on, so you're used to all these settings. But first up, we've got contextual agile dribbling. This is obviously disabled in the competitive settings. This is the most broken thing, in my opinion, probably from last year. This is when the game sort of does this like preset dribble with the ball sticking to your feet in a very weird animation sort of way. I'm personally happy that it's off, because it means there's going to be more emphasis on the left stick dribble, but also the left stick dribble isn't too great, so sometimes you do need that contextual agile dribbling. I believe you can still activate it by just pressing R1 when you're dribbling the ball. So it's not completely out of the game, but it's more when you press it rather than the game just doing it automatic for you. So auto clearance, which is obviously what it is. It just does the game auto clear the ball for you, and this is obviously off in my opinion. I think even if you could decide to have this on, you wouldn't, because why would you want the game to just boot the ball and probably give away possession once you've received it after they've made a mistake or something? So I have this off at all times anyway, just because I don't want the game to really be clearing the ball for me. Auto flare passes, this is obviously when your players will do a back heel by itself or do one of them fancy passes by itself. You can still activate this by holding L2 whilst passing. but this is off for the game to just automatically do it. I wouldn't say this is like a bad thing or a good thing. I think it's just an extra setting what's sort of in the game. And same thing with auto shots. It's one of those things what's just, you know, do you want your players to the game to do automatic shots? You know what, I think when the game gives you an automatic shot and the ball goes in like from a rebound or something, it's probably the best feeling ever, but it's also quite scummy at the same time. So I'm kind of glad it is off, but I would say if you're playing career mode and stuff like that and you're not really too bothered, you might as well just have it on, because it's kind of rare you get the auto shot, but it's more for like rebounds and headers and stuff like that, what can sort of come into the auto shot sort of realm. Assisted headers is off, so is this off on this? I'm not actually too sure. It is. This is obviously you aim where the ball goes on the headers. There's no like assistance at all in it. It's a bit annoying, especially when you try and do like, you know, when you cross it and you try and aim at the goal and you completely miss it. Like it's one of those things you got to get used to. But it's not too hard once you get used to it as well, because there is some benefits with it. I feel actually like the header is a lot better when it is off, because I think you can control it better. When obviously the game was all assisting you quite heavy on the headers. You can still get good power, but it was kind of a little bit fake at the same time. But yeah, that's obviously off. Jockey, I would say maybe the biggest change in the settings compared to previous times. This is on manual now. Instead of assisted. Assisted made, I think, defending a lot easier than it needed to be. I still think on this game, defending is really easy, if I be honest with you, because of the way that the game sort of sets up. But yeah, it's on manual. Assisted sort of, it helps you sort of keep up to speed when jockeying on the player who's sprinting. It was crazy. Like, so let's say somebody's on the wing and they're like trying to do some skills on you, like that maybe they do a fake shot into an elastico, and obviously they get a bit of a boost from it. If you're just jockeying that whole motion, depending how fast that ball is going from them skills, or how fast he's moving the ball, is how fast your player is going to react to it with the movement of the jockey. On manual, it's all on you. It depends if you're going to hold sprint whilst doing it or not. There's a little bit more user input to it, but I think once you get used to it, it's not too much of a change, but it's definitely a good change in some sort of aspects. Through ball assistance, I believe, is on semi. This is last year was on assisted, and we all know how overpowered through balls were last year. They was absolutely crazy. If I be honest with you, they're actually still not too bad now. Through balls, I think it's slightly different to last year, where if you was like marking it, you wasn't actually getting the ball, you wasn't getting rewarded for it. I do think you get rewarded for it now, but through balls, if they're not marked and you actually time it right, they are still incredibly good. And with the way pace is sort of working, it's so hard to actually keep up with them or catch them up unless you got like these overpowered players like Mendy and stuff like that. But yeah, through balls is on assistance, semi, just because that's the settings. Well, it's preset now on the competitive settings. So let's also go back to just activating it now. So as you guys can see, these are just like the preset stuff. Just honestly, just turn on the switch so you just guys are constantly playing on them settings. FIFA Trainer is on hide. If you're new to the game and you're not obviously having a clue what button does what, you can have it on, but obviously it's probably better to have it hidden away. You don't really want this like game to constantly come up with like pass signals on your screen and stuff like that. What's the point of that? Time finishing is on. This is a massive, I think, this year. Previous, I would say 2 years, so FIFA 20 and FIFA 21, time finishing wasn't really needed at all, because the shots were quite good. To be honest with you, finishing was very decent last year in my opinion. This year, finishing isn't too great. If I'll be honest with you, keepers are absolutely cracked out their mind. And also, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but there's an absolute ridiculous way of scoring goals at the moment. The finesses are back from FIFA 19, where you just pop a finesse from anywhere, try and time it. If you white it or you green it, it is probably going to go in, if I'll be honest with you. Like the animations, what the keeper get, and the way the ball moves in the air, it just usually flies in. So, but time finishing on, practice your greens for now. Do I think this is going to be patched in the sense of the finesses? Yes. Is it going to be worth timing your finishing? that's something we got to kind of find out and see what's going to happen with in the recent patches what's going to come up, because I can't tell if it's still going to be worth using maybe like a timed B shot in the future. But right now with the finesses and you're trying to score more goals, use this time finishing, having it on, because it's ridiculous with these finesses right now. Next, player switch indicator. So this is obviously, I have this on. This is also preference. This is where you get a second icon when defending. You're on, I don't know, the right back, and then also you got a second icon over your CDM. When you press L1, that is the player it's going to swap to. It's quite good if you're trying to do a quick change and you're trying to just do maybe a press or something like that, where it's quite useful to have an understanding of sort of what player you're going to go to. Also this year they've added a second man press sort of green sort of icon over this. So when you're holding second man press, it comes up green and you can see when that player is actively used by second man press, and I think that's quite useful to know, because then you know what player sort of maybe going to get dragged out of position, and you can sort of cover that space. So I have it on this year. I don't know if you have it off if that second man press thing comes on. If it doesn't, I think you should have this on, because it is such useful information to have to know where your players are sort of going to go when using second man press. And if you're like me, who just holds second man press because you're just trying to get that ball back, it's worth having on. Pass block assistance is on. This is obviously where the AI, or when you're controlling, like cutting a lane, you're going to get that assistance on receiving a ball, on intercepting. You know, I couldn't think of the right words to sort of put together there. But yeah, basically once you're in the lane of cutting off a passing lane, and they play it and you're there, you're going to receive the ball. Even if you're not there, maybe the AI is there, you can still also receive the ball with this on. If you have it off, you're not going to get them cheesy AI help. Auto switching, this is only on air balls. I didn't realize actually they've got only on loose balls as well this year, which is a bit annoying. I thought it used to be only air balls and there we go. Only air balls and loose balls. I was going to say that was the setting I had last year. I didn't want to change that up really from last year. So obviously this means that auto switching will come into place when a ball is maybe pinged over to the from wing back to wing back, or maybe there's a 50-50 and the ball sort of in the open space. You obviously will switch for the loose ball. A few people will, you can have manual. You can sort of have, I wouldn't have automatic, but anything but automatic I would say is like good, to be honest with you, whatever you're most comfortable with. But automatic isn't the greatest to have. Auto switch move assistance, this is obvious, well, this is not obviously, but this is where when you change to a player, whatever movement it's doing is going to carry on with that movement depending on this input. So if you have high, and let's say your right back is running to their right mid or their left mid, automatically the game's obviously pressing it for you, and it's on high, and you switch to that wing back, you're still doing that running forward movement because of this input. If you have none, soon as you change to that player, it's going to, it's on you, you know. So if you want to carry on going forward, or if you want to stop running forward, or you want to cut inside slightly, as soon as that you switch to that player, you're going to have full control of that. When on low and high, low is not too bad, but high, you're going to be carrying on that movement and it's not the greatest. But I'm going to actually change this to none right here, right now, and that's what I'll probably go ahead with using. Clear assistance is on directional. This is a new thing they put into the game. I've just left this of whatever it comes at, because I'm not really too fussed. Player lock on, icon switching on. Yeah, very simple. If you want to use player locks, you probably want to have that on. Player locks are pretty good again once again this year. Right stick switching, probably the most important thing to make sure you have this on player relative. Ball relative is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm not sure what player rotation is because that's new into the game. But what this means, when you flick the right stick, this is where it's going to be related to the player you flick at. So let's say I'm on my right back and I flick inside to the middle to my centre back, that's what player I'm going to go for. If I got it on ball relative, and let's say I'm on my right back and I have my CDM close to the ball, like ahead of him, and then my centre back behind him, and they're obviously past it maybe by my right back and that, and I switch to my left, it's just going to go to my CDM because that's the most it's the ball relative. You know, it's going to swap to the player what's closer to the ball, rather than maybe I want to go on my centre back because they're making a run in behind and stuff like that. So player relative, use right stick switching. It's the best type of, probably the best thing for defending. It's the most, when you're looking to improve, player switching is super important. So yeah, player relative, don't have that on ball relative. I don't know what player rotation is, so I can't help you with that, but make sure you have player relative from my personal experience. Ground pass assistance on assisted, shot assistance assisted, cross assistance assisted. Previous years this has been on semi, but this year's on manual. I need to test it out slightly more. I want to see what semi really is about. So I'll try that, but right now I'm using assisted. But I'll let you guys know in maybe a future video if semi's any good. Lob pass assistance assisted, save assistance assisted, analog sprint is off, pass receiver lock is late, and user vibration feedback is off. But that is it for the controls, the camera settings and everything. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and peace.